Hi guys, tonight we're going to talk about sedimentary rocks. It also goes with chapter 4 in your textbook if you want additional information. The first thing I want you to do is to take a look at this picture, and you'll notice that with that picture these rocks have layers. Okay, so long ago there was sediment, which is dirt and organic material, and it piled up right where you see it right here. And it piled up in layers. Okay, this layer got here first, and then a little later this layer came in, laid itself down, and then this next layer came in and laid itself down. And over time, the layers that are at the bottom get squeezed together. Then you get a little bit of minerals that crystallize in there, and they glue stuff together, and lo and behold, there you have a sedimentary rock. So chances are, if you go outside and pick up a rock, it's probably going to be sedimentary, because 75% of the rocks on Earth's surface are sedimentary. Okay, now, like I said before, they're formed when sediments become compacted and cemented together. Compacted means they get squeezed. So again, if we go back to our picture, where it's going to be compacting the most is at the bottom here, where it's got the highest amount of pressure. Okay, and then sometimes they become cemented together, which means that minerals crystallize around it and form a glue that holds the pieces together. So if we focus on compaction for a second, in the picture down here at the very, very bottom, this is where the high pressure area is, where it's being compacted. Okay, up here at the top, there's not a whole lot that's on top of those layers. So there's not a whole lot of pressure going on there. Okay, so you're going to have the most compaction, the most squeezing, the most amount of pressure down here on the bottom layers. Okay, and it's going to squeeze that sediment together to form a rock. Now, a lot of times you have to have some cement going in there with it, gluing those pieces together. But if you have really, really small, tiny, teeny tiny sediments, for example clay, then all it takes is a big amount of squeezing down here, and it'll squeeze right into a rock. So if the sediments are a little bit bigger, then you have to have a form of cement. Okay, so if you look at the picture up here in the corner, okay, you'll notice you have these big old pebbles here, and then in between all that kind of grayish brown area, that's all what we call natural cement. Those are minerals that have crystallized, and as they've crystallized, they've stuck all those pieces together. So that happens when water soaks through the soil and it dissolves the minerals that are there, and when the water evaporates out, then the minerals recrystallize, and as they crystallize, then they glue those pieces together. So this is what's going to happen when you have large sediments. Now in this case, the sediments, if I go back to a different color here, the sediments that you see are these pebbles, okay, that you see right in here, all those white pebbles. And this particular rock, those are the pieces of sediment. So those are really large pieces of sediment that have been glued together by those minerals. Okay, so just like with igneous rocks, we had intrusive and extrusive groups. We can also classify sedimentary rocks into 3 different groups. Okay, so those groups, if you look, they are called clastic, they are called chemical, and they are called organic. Okay, and they are classified based on the way that they are formed. So we're going to start with clastic. So clastic means you have bits and pieces of fragments of rock that are stuck together, and these have to be glued. Okay, you can see in this picture just how big the pieces of sediment are. So just like in the picture before, we were talking about cementation. These rocks have to be cemented. Okay, no amount of pressure is going to stick these giant pebbles together. Okay, you have to have that glue, which in the one that I'm on here is all that dark brown. That's all minerals that have crystallized, and it's glued all those pieces together. Now, we have two different types of clastic sedimentary rock. We have conglomerate and we have breccia. So the breccia on the left side, the difference is the shape of these fragments are kind of jagged. So they're going to have little kind of edges and points to them. They may be rectangular shaped. This one right here is kind of teardrop shaped. So they're going to have points and edges to them. Okay, these over here in the conglomerate are rounded. So these would be like pebbles that you find in a stream or a river where they've been tumbling down the river for so long. They look almost like peanuts that have been stuck together. So if they're rounded, then it's conglomerate, and if they are shaped kind of jagged with points, then it's breccia. Okay, chemical sedimentary rock. Okay, this is basically just the glue. Okay, it's when minerals crystallize out of a solution. So the water comes in, dissolves the mineral. The water is the only thing that can evaporate out. So as it evaporates, it leaves that mineral behind, and when the mineral gets left behind, then it crystallizes into a chemical sedimentary rock. So the example that you see right there is called rock salt, halite. Okay, and if you actually licked this or put it in your mouth, it would taste salty. This is salt. Then we have organic sedimentary rock. So these are sedimentary rocks that have once living things in them. So if you look at the example that we have here, okay, this is organic limestone, and you can see it's got a shell in there, which is a piece of organic material. There's another shell. Okay, so the fact that it's got shells in it, those are from once living things. That's what makes it an organic sedimentary rock. Okay, so kind of backing up towards the beginning, we said that the layers that make up the rock are called strata. Okay, now this is a little different. This word is stratification. So the difference here is that here are our layers of strata. Okay, that's a noun. It's a layer of sediment that's piled up. The stratification is the process. So that's the verb. That means it is forming layers. Okay, so it's the process of the sediment coming down into layers. So strata is the layer itself. Stratification is the process of actually forming those layers. And then the last two slides just show you different pictures of stratification. Okay, in this one, clearly something has twisted this mountain. Okay, and you see that the layers, they should be horizontal, but something has pushed this side of the mountain up, and so the layers are now tilted. Okay, those are still layers of strata that have been formed, okay, but they're just diagonal because something over time has moved this part of the mountain up and tilted it and kind of turned it sideways. Okay, and then finally, here's one that's just more horizontal for you to look at, so you can clearly see the different layers of strata there as well. Okay, so make sure you have your notes filled out and bring them to class tomorrow. Have a good night.